made, whatever amount of millions of dollars, I had a profound realization. Like when I go out to eat with a friend who's a billionaire, me, you, and Travis were sitting around, or me, you, and Matt Mullenweg were sitting around, and we took out our net worths, and it was like, oh my God, like you and I are down here. These two guys are up here. We all go and have a steak. Steak tastes the same. We all go skiing, or we go to Japan, same experience. And once I realized that, I was like, for me, it might be different for other people. The scorecard of cash doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Beyond a certain point. And for me, it was the freedom to do whatever I want in my life and to take care of my 3 daughters, take care of my wife, and be a good provider, take care of my extended family if they needed some help on the margins. And once that happened, I was like, I drive a Model Y, and I prefer that to the Plaid, and I have a Model X. Like I enjoy sometimes the New York Strip better than Wagyu. I just kind of like the flavor of it. It's a fifth of the price. So once you start to realize like, okay, these are just constructs, and money is just not the right scorecard.
Yeah.
The right scorecard is, did you wake up and couldn't wait to get out of bed? Like to me, that's the true scorecard. I cannot wait to get on air and do This Week in Startups with Molly and talk about tech. Can't wait to meet with founders. I can't wait to teach another course on how to start a company. Can't wait to see my friends for dinner. Can't wait to help my friends if they're in need. Can't wait to come on the Tim Ferriss podcast. If I can't wait to do the activity, I know I'm doing something right. When you invited me on, I went to Jade. I was like, my wife's name is Jade. And I was like, oh, Tim invited me on the podcast. I can't wait to do it. Like, and I have never, that very rarely happens. But I was like, I listen to the Tim Ferriss podcast all the time, and I'm sure at some point I'll be on it. But the act of doing it with you, to me, was like, oh, I'm excited, and being excited and enthusiastic, to me, it just means something has aligned.
Yeah.
When I'm writing, you and I have the same thing. I don't know where it is for you, but somewhere around like a third of the book, things start heating up for me. Mm-hmm. And like you, all of a sudden, like, the first third of the book is like, oh, and then all of a sudden, oh,
yeah,
I know what sections I have to do. I can see behind the next corner. The book just flows, and you're like, boom, 2,000 words are coming out at a clip. Like those kind of moments when you have that flow and you have that enthusiasm for life.
Yeah.
You have to construct the life around those. And then life is just pulling you out of bed every day and just telling you like, oh, I got to go to bed. Like every night I go to bed and I'm just like, I don't want to close my eyes. I want to just do another hour. It's hard for me to go to bed some nights because my enthusiasm is so high for life. And, it wasn't always that way. A lot of it was a struggle. A lot of it was trying to figure out who I was. But I really do want to enjoy this last couple of decades of, if there's an interesting project or moment that's going to create that great memory and going to make me enthusiastic, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And if, that means helping out a friend on a special project, or, going on a friend's podcast or whatever, doing a new podcast, it's just, I feel very blessed that I got here. And I want to just squeeze every single drop of juice out of that, box of oranges. Really, I mean, think about it. Our friend Dave Goldberg, rest in peace, Tony Hsieh, the darkness there. Like, it can be over. And it's exactly like our age range where we start saying goodbye to people.
Yep.
And so if you're in your 20s or 30s, like you're just on adrenaline, and then you get to 40s and 50s and you're like, what do I do with what's left? Especially if some things have hit for you, like if you're Tim Ferriss, and like, you got to really start thinking like, okay, well, I'm one of the top podcasters in the world, one of the top authors in the world. Is this actually making me happy?
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing I'm writing in my new book about is, my new book is about money and wealth. And
can't wait to read it.
I want to send you some early stuff and get your thoughts on it. But I'm writing about this paradox that you and I are talking about right now, which is what happens when you catch the car.
Yeah.
What happens? It's part, how do you catch the car? But then once I get you on the hook for that, like, how do you get the money? Now what happens when you have caught the car? And then now you have to look in the mirror. I caught the car. Okay, the adrenaline rush is over. Am I actually happy? Did I want to catch that car?
Yeah.
Did I want to be Tim Ferriss? Did I want to be J. Cal? Did I want to be Travis? Did I want to be Matt Mullenweg?
Yeah.
Is this actually making me happy? What now? And that's where like Buddhism and a lot of like soulfulness has hit me in my 50s, or, right before my 40s, basically when my two friends died. Two of my poker buddies died, and it just, it just reprogrammed my brain in a major way,
Yeah.
you know, those two events. And it's actually been a gift, you know, in a way, because now I just look at the world differently. It's a big
Puts
gift.
things in perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it does really. Yeah.
And, you know, another pattern I've noticed just with respect to catching the car is that not everyone, but a lot of achievers I know who have been driven enough and worked hard enough and focused long enough and sacrificed enough to make a lot of money, when they finally cross that threshold where they can't really rationalize the need to make more.
Right.
Which, by the way, I mean, not to plug my own, I haven't mentioned the 4-hour work week in a long time, but if you actually read some of the basics, the fundamentals in that book, it outlines just how much self-deception goes into believing that you need 20, 30, 50, $100 million. It's mostly unjustifiable.
Totally.
And when you get enough money that you've won the game you always thought would answer your prayers and remove all the pain, anxiety, and depression, and it doesn't, that is a terrifying moment. And oh my God, do people, and I'll include myself in this group of people, begin to panic, because you're like, wait a second, if that didn't fix these things,
what will?
What in the fuck am I supposed to do? And it can be, and you know, I don't want to make it a complete swan song. I mean, look, it's better to, all things being equal, to have the money than to not have the money. However, the prevalence of depression in quote unquote successful people that has increased rather than decreased after they catch the car it's worth studying. I think it tells us a lot about the human condition, even if you never end up catching the car.